Alright, in today's video, we are going to be discussing trend lines. So, trend lines are another super simple concept. I think it'll probably take even less than 10 minutes to explain. I am also not going to be going into many examples in the educational videos, just because they are meant to be introductory videos to everything. The actual practice, the you know uh, effort and the reps that you need to get in are gonna have to be done on your own time, with back testing, with TA, and obviously asking the group and talking with them and using the community aspect provided in the group to further your education, make it less of a lonely experience. You're just grinding the whole time. Now, with that being said, let's begin. So, trend lines, I've got a couple over here. They will exemplify each and every type of trend line. You have parallel channels to start with. So these are trend lines, but with, instead of a single line, it's two channels or two lines forming a channel together. So we use parallel channels because oftentimes trend lines are messy. It's not the trend line that's messy, but it's the price action. So trying to make clean, connected valleys and troughs with trend lines and everything, which is what we're trying to do, is pretty difficult at times. So using a channel is very nice. If you zoom in over here, or you just look at it on the daily time frame when it was getting ready to break out, it consolidated a lot over here, which is all fine and dandy. That's pretty normal behavior for a trend line breakout. But it makes it very hard to, decipher it on a short time frame, and can really lead to you being chopped up. So if it were a single line, anytime it just goes below that line, statically you're bearish. If it's above that line, statically you're bullish, right? If you see a zone, you'll understand that it's pretty rough waters around here, and we need to wait for something conclusive, like if you watch the volume video, a high volume candlestick, right, to break it all out. So the parallel channel can be found over here by trend lines if you go down to channels, and I really like using it to exemplify a trend line for myself. Now, besides that, then you also have regular trend lines, which, as much as I've talked about them just now, they're obviously still great and useful. I use them whenever I can, but I do let it be known that it's not always going to be a perfect match for the TA, right? You can see over here several times it tried to break or wick below, never broke down, never closed below the trend line, so that's why I'm using it as a valid setup. But nonetheless, it's got these wicks that makes it messy. The channel will be more accepting of that fact. Now, with regular trend lines, you obviously just connect, again, the peaks and the valleys. So you want to connect highs together, you want to connect lows together. And then that gives you a range where price action will abide by effectively. Likewise over here with the horizontal trend lines, right? So these just act as regular old support and resistance levels. So does any regular trend line, but I digress. And nonetheless, you have these two trend lines form. They form a clear range. You can make profitable, consistent, and informed setups and trades happen with an edge, just by having the boundaries of price action marked out with trend lines. Now, how do you exactly trade trend lines? It's very simple, and I always recommend one specific strategy. It's not a strategy per se, but it's just a common artifact that comes, a common set of behavior that comes whenever there is a breakout of a trend line, and that is the break and retest. Now, the break and retest does not always occur, but when it does, it is one of the highest probability setups that you can have. What is a break and retest exactly? Well, right here is a great example. So we have this range that got formed, broke down on high volume over here, right? You can see this candlestick was when the breakdown happened. Boom, high volume candlestick all the way down to here. And then what happened after it went down quite a bit? Well, it came back up. And where did it get rejected? Right around here. This little accumulation zone that was forming right before it dropped. This is also technically SR, but it impulsed through it. Really where it rejected at was the specific breakout level where, well, it broke down. So came back here. This is your retest, your SR flip. So the support got turned into resistance, and now it went down. So it came back down again. Now a second time, and this time you can see it got rejected almost perfectly off of the long-standing range support zone. So if you, in this case, want to trade this, well, you wait for a breakout in either direction. You see a range, you wait for a breakout. Then now, sorry to say it, I know, ADHD brain, TikTok brain, fucking AI, ChatGPT slop, atrophied minds, but we have to be patient again. We have to be patient again, and we have to wait for it to retest. Okay, sorry, it's not short form, straight to my fucking veins content. It's I sleep and put on alerts and chill content. So we wait for the breakout. We wait for the retest. Okay, and then at this point, once we're seeing on a shorter time frame, remember this is the daily. We zoom in. Oh, I'm not gonna. Yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna do all that. It's way too many candlesticks to go back into. But we do that, then we enter a short position. Okay, we enter in the direction of the trade where the price was moving into in the first place. It would be very simple. You'd have your stop loss above the SR zone, and you'd have your take profit be below the last swing when you broke out. So in this case, this is the range. Okay, you have the breakout. I mark this out as my last swing. Okay, and then I wait for the retest. Boom, retest right here. I'll have my stop loss be right above. Let's say I entered at the midpoint right here. I'll have my stop loss be right here. I'll have my take profit be again below this last swing that was formed. So maybe like around here or here. Regardless, it got hit eventually, right? So huge RR on that trade, 8.56. That's possible because we have very clear defined boundaries for the trade. We have trend lines that formed that we can rely on to use to make that trade. Okay, so to summarize, trend lines will give you boundaries on price action. There are two different types of trend lines that you want to use. There's the parallel channel, and then there's regular channel trend lines. Obviously, you also have the horizontal rectangle and everything, and that counts and is valid too. But I did a whole separate video on that specifically. How do you trade the trend lines? Is very simple as well, but it requires patience. It is the simple support resistance flip concept, right? Or resistance support flip, whether it's whichever one gets flipped basically, right? Where you wait for the breakout, you wait for the retest, you set a stop in on the inside of the retest, and your take profit on the outside below the swing that was formed, the swing high or low. And that is pretty much it. So trend lines are very easy. What is difficult about them is learning how to do proper trend lines, which is not something that I can really communicate over here very effectively, besides just connect the peaks and valleys, your troughs and your peaks. Because, as I said again, it is something that when you are looking for trend lines and to verify if they're correct, you just need time. So there's no substitute for getting your hands dirty, putting time on the charts, and just spending a lot of time to to be able to pick these things up and have good pattern recognition. But as I said again, take these educational videos as a foundation, and then feel free to come to me in the group, DM me, whatever it is, and I'd be happy to help in further detail. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.